last meeting, we have learned about lipid. So today, we are going to do an experiment. How exciting is this, right? Now we are going to do a lipid test. Before we do the experiment, I will going to explain what is lipids. Lipids or fats can be defined as heterogeneous organic compounds that exist in nature and relatively insoluble in water but soluble in nonpolar solvents. Lipids are compounds containing carbon and hydrogen, which are insoluble in water but soluble in organic solvents. Fat or lipids functions as a metabolic fuel to provide energy to the body, our body. A structural component of cell membranes, an insulator forming component to reduce body heat loss, conserve protein, and as a hormone forming component. From this experiment, I hope you are able to show the presence of fat in food samples, some foods that we are consume every day. Before we start this experiment, I will show you or I will tell you what we need in this experiment. There are several tools and materials. Okay, the first tools is paper, and then the second is water. And then the third is light source. You can use anything. You can use the sun or any light that you have. And test tube and drop pipette. One is the materials that we are going to do in this experiment. Some materials that you can find in your kitchen. So the first is butter. And the second is sesame seeds before we crushed it. And the third is fat. This is from cow fat. And the fourth is sirsak. The fifth is, if you can see the reflection, this is oil. And the last is white rice. Okay, the first step, I'm going to draw some number of squares on paper according to the material being tested. We are going to test 6 materials, 6 boxes that we need to this experiment. And I will give each box with the label from these materials that we need in the experiment. Okay, I add one more box. I separate it with those materials because it's a control, so this box will drip with water as a control. So here's I will give the label of this box with water. The second step is I will place the sample to be tested in each box. So I will add the first material is butter. You can add as much you want. And then this is next step is we are going to drip box 1 with water as a control. You can use your hands to drip the water. And then the next step, the fourth step, is remove excess oil or fat and dry the paper for a few minutes. I will remove with a tissue. You can see some stain in this paper. So it's after a few seconds I remove the excess. We have to wait about a few minutes to see the result. Okay class, after we wait about a few minutes, we have some results from the materials that we tested on this experiment and lipid experiment. And the first material is ingredient in water. You can see from this flashlight back in my phone, and there is no lipid contained in it, so the paper in the spot test does not leave transparent stains and the paper returns to dry as before. Okay, the second spot test material is butter. The paper is given a little butter and then drops of water as a test material. The result is that the paper leaves a stain which makes the paper transparent. This shows that the butter contains fat. The resulting transparent stain is very much. You can see this. It gives a transparent stain on this paper. Okay, and then the next spot is the sesame seed material. There are quite a lot of transparent stains that leave an impression. This shows that sesame seeds contain fat or lipid. You can see some dots or some stain in it. It's transparent, leave fat, so we can conclude that sesame seeds contain fat or lipid. Test material was fat, which showed the presence of fat because it was proven that the paper that left the stain was transparent. Fat that we used is cow fat. The resulting fat stain looks a lot but not as much as butter. You can see this, the fat is not as much the butter. You can see the difference. And then the next spot is cooking oil. We know that cooking oil is contain lipid or fat, so we know that this spot test in cooking oil leave a transparent in this paper. We can conclude that cooking oil contains lipid. Then the next spot is sirsak fruit. In sirsak fruit, it produces a little fat stain on the paper. It contains a little fat because it leaves a transparent stain on the paper. This means that sirsak contains less fat or lipids. Last fat spot test, which is given treatment on white rice. Based on the experiment that has been done, it is found that white rice leaves very few transparent stains on the paper, and it is known that the lipid content in white rice is only about 0.4 gram. Okay class, today we have done about an experiment about lipid. You can see the difference of these 7 materials, and we use water as a control. Water can evaporate, so they not leave a stain with this paper. It's different with these materials that we used that we found in our kitchen. Okay guys, hope you guys enjoy this experiment. See you on the next experiment. Bye. Okay class, that was an experiment about